According to the information in the table above, which of the following statements is true if both countries have the same number of workers? So in this question, we're given a table where there are two countries, country A and country B. And these countries produce two types of goods, manufactured goods and service goods. And we're asked to find the following statement that is true if they both have the same number of workers. So option choice A says that country A has both an absolute and comparative advantage in manufactured goods. So let's look at the table here. So when it says that country A has an absolute advantage in manufactured goods, it means that country A can produce more manufactured goods than country B can. And looking at the table, we can see that this is true, because country A can produce 100 units of manufactured goods, but country B can only produce 75 units of manufactured goods. So it is true that country A has an absolute advantage in manufactured goods. But when it says that country A has a comparative advantage in manufactured goods, this is incorrect, because comparative advantage is the opportunity cost from producing one good over another. And if country A has a lower opportunity cost of producing manufactured goods than does country B, then it has a comparative advantage. So to calculate this comparative advantage, we'd simply do 300 units of service goods over 100 units in manufactured goods. This would give us 3 service goods, meaning that for every manufactured good produced, it costs country A 3 service goods in cost. And now let's look at country B. So their comparative or opportunity cost is 150 units in service goods over 75 units in manufactured goods. Now we would calculate this, we'd get 2 service goods, meaning that for every manufactured good country B produces, it costs them 2 service goods. So because their opportunity cost is lower than country's A opportunity cost for manufactured goods, country B has a comparative advantage in manufactured goods, not country A. Therefore, A is incorrect. B. Country A has an absolute advantage in manufactured goods, but a comparative advantage in service goods. So as before, we found that country A does have an absolute advantage in manufactured goods, but now let's see if they have a comparative advantage in service goods. So let's use the same method as before, and let's calculate the opportunity cost for service goods. So this time it'd be 100 over 300. This would give us 1/3, meaning that for every service good produced, it costs country A 3 or 1/3 manufactured goods. Now let's see country B. So for them it would be 75 over 150. This would give us 1/2 manufactured goods. So for every service good produced in country B, it costs them 1/2 of a manufactured good. So looking at this, we can clearly see that country A has a lower opportunity cost. Therefore, country A does have a comparative advantage in service goods as compared to country B. Therefore, B seems to be the correct answer. Let's look at C now. Country B has a comparative advantage in service goods, but no absolute advantage in either good. This is incorrect because we saw before that they don't have a comparative advantage in service goods. But it is true that they don't have an absolute advantage in either good, because country A can produce more manufactured goods and service goods. But because this first part is incorrect, a country B having a comparative advantage in service goods, C is incorrect. D. Country A has an absolute advantage in service goods, but a comparative advantage in manufactured goods. This is incorrect because although they do have an absolute advantage in service goods, they don't have a comparative advantage in manufactured goods, because country B can produce manufactured goods for 2 service goods, but country A, it costs 3 service goods. Therefore, country B can produce it for a lower opportunity cost, and they have a comparative advantage in manufactured goods. So D is incorrect. E. Country B has an absolute advantage in manufactured goods, but without more information, it is not possible to tell in which product it has a comparative advantage. This is incorrect because, for one, they don't have an absolute advantage in manufactured goods, and secondly, we can tell whether they have a comparative advantage in either goods. So E is incorrect, and the correct answer is B.